Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me directly. I've got all the information, pricing, availability, and details of the watch, Team Mosso at the1916company.com. And today I'm finally discussing one of the best watches of 2024 from Piaget. This is the Polo 79, built in the image of the 1979 Quartz original, but a much more modern watch, slightly larger, mechanically powered, and with a display case back to match. The timepiece won the GPHG Iconic Prize for 2024, so it is effectively one of the winners at the annual Oscars of watchmaking. This timepiece is massive. I checked it out on my scale, 208 grams and 36 hundredths, which is unreal when you consider how much gold is in here. Granted, it's 18 carats, so 75% gold. It's going to be somewhere between 156 and 160 grams. It's imposing to the eye and imposing to the touch. 38 millimeters in diameter. It's very slim, 7.5 millimeters thick. And then my best understanding of how it wears lug-to-lug is to measure the first link to its opposite number. So 51 millimeters across the wrist. Retail on this is $75,000, and at least as of this point in 2025, that $75,000 price is holding. So let's throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters circumference, and get a sense. Piaget wanted it to be bigger than the original, but not so large that it became a men's watch. They're describing this as unisex, and frankly, it does feel that way. Super flat, it'll easily fit underneath a dress cuff. And when you look down the barrel, you can really see that the bracelet has plenty of clearance on either side. As long as the bracelet is arcing out on each side of a wrist, you know that you still have some room to go. So I'd say this will wear fine on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference, maybe 13 and a half if your wrist is really flat rather than round. The watch is beautifully made, and the way it's made is core to its appeal. It's almost like Lincoln Logs, or building a log cabin. So if you're familiar with the American toy Lincoln Logs, the American President Abe Lincoln putatively was the builder of log cabins via logs that would interlock and fit together, and that's how this bracelet's made. Taking a look, you can see that we have these polished gadroon-style intermediates, and then there are little extensions with sockets in the primary links, and it goes together seamlessly. There's no daylight showing between it. It has a lot of structural strength, and the assembly method is very similar to what you'll find on the Chopard Alpine Eagle, with the exception that the intermediate links on the Chopard are not visible, whereas here they are fully expressed and visible externally. They're not just interlocking sockets, they're actually physical features of the design. Now, the dial is solid gold, like the case, and you can actually see the disc of gold ends where the bezel begins internally. The case itself is also built by a sort of stacked and interlocking method. So taking a look in profile, these gadroons are actually components, polished, finished yellow gold components that slide in each case. So they slide in through slots in the case back, and then the case back is screwed on to hold them in place. So that's how it's assembled. Taking a quick look on the inside, you can see every single link is removable, so you have a lot of adjustability built in here. And then you have a thick gauge gold double deploying clasp that's very minimal when closed. It doesn't stack up or add a lot of thickness. It's a twin trigger release, so it does give you quite a bit of security, and the gauge of the gold is thick, so it feels very solid. Piaget was not describing this as a dress watch when I met with them at Watches and Wonders. They see this as more of an all-arounder, and to that end, rather than dress watch water resistance of 30 meters, it has a more durable 50-meter rating. Still don't recommend you swim with it, but you've got a bit more margin for error if it does get wet. The crystal is utterly flush, and you can see that the decoration, the faceting, the brushing, the polishing of all these components is deeply artisanal. This goes back to the days when Piaget was a specialist in gold watches. In fact, for many years it only made gold watches, elevating itself over the rest of the industry, making clear, even during the depths of the quartz crisis, that Piaget was luxury, not a utilitarian watch. The dial is exquisite. As you can see, we have these dimple-style minute tracks outboard with larger dimple-style cabochon for the hours, and then we have these hands Dauphine-style at center that are half frosted to make for better finish. Minimally branded. There's very little text on this dial. Piaget in excellent taste there. One of the biggest differences between this and the original is the mechanical movement. So it is a 1200 P1 gold rotor on ceramic bearings for greater efficiency. There's some adhesive on the back here from stickers, so forgive that. It's a large movement, 29.9 millimeters in diameter. It nicely fills this case, but it's also a thin one, 2.35 millimeters thick. Automatic winding, 3 hertz beat rate, 25 joules, 44-hour power reserve. Some elegant artisanal elements. As with Audemars Piguet, F. Pigeon, G0A49150, it is best described as a movement with a judicious blend of hand finishing and mechanical finishing. You can see that there is a bevel here that is mechanically executed but neat. We have engine turning on the base plate. We have circular Côte de Genève on the bridges as well as the rotor. We have both polished screws and blued screws, which is a nice mix. We have a micrometric fine adjustment mechanism, but we also have Edicron to allow for fine-tuning of rate and beat error. And then we have solarization on the ratchet wheel, and then a sort of snailed solarization on the crown wheel and crown wheel core. So a really good-looking manufacturer movement, harking back to the 12P of 1960, which was Piaget's original micro rotor ultra-thin automatic. Again, 7.5 millimeters is really thin. All of the equivalent Royal Oaks and Nautilus models are over 8 millimeters thick, so this is unique in that regard. I would also say that it's unique in the fact that it's very low volume. I asked Piaget, how many of these do you make, when I was at Watches and Wonders? And unofficially, they told me 3 runs. And a run or a course, by their definition, was 300 pieces. So 300 times 3 for this watch in the 2024 model year. I cannot imagine that they'll be building any more this year, so exclusivity is assured. Reach out to me directly, because I have these new. Piaget is one of our partners. So at Team Mosso at the 1916company.com, I have full details of pricing, model, and availability.